One U.S. state is now actively talking about eliminating their state income tax, saving high-earning residents tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and giving a new option to Americans living elsewhere in the country to come and live with no state income tax. But the devil is in the details. I'm going to tell you what that devil is, and I'm going to tell you why zero state income tax actually isn't nearly what it's cracked up to be. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. Here at Nomad Capitalist, our team of 36 people around the world, our network of global experts I spent over a dozen years curating, and yours truly help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. West Virginia now talking about eliminating its state income tax. Here's the latest from, where's this from? WVnews.com. I'll read you the article. From Charleston, I've been to Charleston. Governor Jim Justice, who sounds like he's hosting a morning show on a conservative talk radio station, hopes to make West Virginia the 8th state in the nation without a personal income tax. Justice outlined a strategy to phase out and eventually eliminate the state's income tax during his 2021 State of the State address, making the effort as one of his major priorities for the current session of the legislature. As of 2021, 7 states, Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming, do not have a state income tax. 2 others, New Hampshire and Tennessee, don't tax earned wages. Justice's plan would see personal income taxes cut in half for most West Virginians, while imposing a series of new taxes and tax hikes. Yes, the government that giveth also taketh away. Personal income taxes eventually would be eliminated for all residents, with the hope, a word banned in my office, that the predicted economic development activity and influx of new residents that would occur as a result would make up for the lost revenues. To replace the $2.1 billion received annually from the personal income tax, Justice said the state should raise its consumer sales tax by 1.5%, impose taxes on the purchase of tobacco products, they never give up on that one, and soda, that's the new one, create a tiered system for severance tax collections, impose taxes on some professional services, impose a wealth tax, and make $25 million in budget. All right. Once we're done with the other taxes, all right, fine, we'll cut a few things. $2.1 billion collected, $25 million in budget cuts. A senior policy associate named Richard Auxier for the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center said politicians like to bring up eliminating income taxes because on the surface it seems like an idea that can be easily sold to the public. If you ask someone, would you rather pay higher taxes or lower taxes, they're going to say lower taxes, he says. Unless it's on someone else, then they should pay higher taxes. However, he says it overlooks the importance of the essential services such as infrastructure and education and healthcare, which, okay, we'll just let the article continue from there. Now, I think we've got all the juicy points out. So, a couple things. No income tax in West Virginia. Listen, I'm all in favor of countries or any kind of jurisdiction that's trying to come up with some kind of interesting idea. We talk about countries that have decided to slash taxes. One of the biggest examples that we've shared over the years, the country of Georgia, went from 21 taxes to 6, put in the Constitution, you can't raise them, flattened pretty much all of them. And look at what's happened. Now the 12th freest economy in the world, 6th easiest place to start a business, coming from post-Soviet backwater. People were living in squalor in your lifetime. And West Virginia now trying to jump onto the bandwagon, basically let's call it the 10th state that would have no state income tax. A lot of people moving to Tennessee, Nashville, it's going crazy. Texas, Austin, Dallas, going crazy. Florida, going crazy. All these tax-free states have been going crazy. Now, what are they going to do to pay for it? Because you can't just have no tax in these states. These states have a lot of expenses, so they're going to impose, among other things, potentially a wealth tax, something that the likes of California, Massachusetts, and New York want to impose. Doesn't sound like the best thing to do if you have wealth. Now, if you're just a high earner and you spend it all, I guess that won't matter, other than perhaps your home or whatever other wealth that they're able to tax. But if you're someone who's accumulating wealth, if you are a 7- and 8-figure entrepreneur or investor, if you have large cryptocurrency holdings, if you have a lot of money in the bank, I don't know the exact details. It doesn't seem that we have any details yet on this wealth tax, but that could be an issue. So it doesn't exactly sound tax friendly to me. You see other states like Texas and Florida where they have higher property taxes. They make up the money in other ways, where if you go and you buy a big, beautiful home, you're going to pay a lot more than you would in a place like a California. So the government makes up the money anyway. And so here's my challenge that longtime viewers know about zero income tax states. You know, if you're going to move from California, from Washington, from wherever, to go to Nevada, to Florida, to Texas, to Tennessee, perhaps to West Virginia, if you're going to pack up and move, you know what I hear when I tell people to move overseas to lower their taxes? What about the kids' school? What about the kids' friends? How are they going to meet new friends? How are they going to make new friends in West Virginia? And so here's the challenge. You just elected Joe Biden, who wants to take the cap off of Social Security. If you make more than $400,000 a year, you're going to have to pay Social Security tax. If you're self-employed, that could be as much as 12.4%. He wants to make the capital gains tax the same as the ordinary income tax, even on long-term gains, if you make over $1 million a year. And he wants to raise the ordinary income tax rate. Plus, you have people who are whispering in his ear, like Elizabeth Warren, wealth tax. So if you live in the United States, even if your state income tax is zero, now they may make that up with wealth taxes, higher property taxes, other things that you're going to feel the pinch of. You may not save as much as you think, but you're still going to be paying federal taxes. Those are likely to go up under Joe Biden. He wanted to go from a top rate of 37 back up to the 39.6. That's 2.5%. That's not as much as most state taxes, but it's as much as some of the lower state income taxes. So even if you go from 2.5 to 0, a hike in the federal rate basically wipes that out. Then he wants to raise all these other taxes. If you're a seven-figure earner, even if you're not when it comes to Social Security, you're going to feel the pinch, especially if you're self-employed. And so staying in the United States means that your taxes in general are going up. You save 3% here, you might pay an extra 7% here. And so let's just take a place that Americans can move and lower their taxes much more dramatically. Puerto Rico. Capital gains, taxed at 0. Ordinary income, taxed at 4%. Now, it's not always as simple as that if you run a business, especially if it's a physical business or it has a physical presence in the U.S. If you have certain, capital gain assets, it's not as simple as just move to Puerto Rico, sell them tomorrow, and pay 0. But it is a place where you can accumulate capital gains and accumulate income at very low tax rates. It's still technically in the United States. And if you're going to talk about having to pack up the moving truck and Junior needs to find new friends, and what about the schools? Well, if you can move to West Virginia, you might as well move to Puerto Rico. And once you realize you can move to Puerto Rico, then the whole world opens up. Why don't you move to Dublin or to London or to Kuala Lumpur or to Panama City? If you can live anywhere, then you can really live anywhere. And you can get out of this idea that you have to be giving away 40 or 50% of your money to some government. Moving to West Virginia with a 0% state income tax might lower your overall tax burden from 48 to 43. Is that really moving the needle? Do you really want to pack up and move to another state? I love the idea of West Virginia trying to find creative solutions. Quite frankly, by all metrics, it is one of the poorest states in the country. They need to do something to shake things up. But here's the issue. Governments are becoming competitive. We've been talking about this for years. The United States is now the 17th most free economy in the world. There are countries that within your lifetime were communist that are beating it, some of them badly. Governments now are not the way they were in the 70s or the 80s or even the 90s when there were only a handful of places you can go. More and more states are reducing their taxes. The federal government may not be, but the states are. And that means more and more competition. And if you're already thinking in the mode of competition, why not think all competition? Puerto Rico, Panama, the Philippines, or anywhere else. I'm such a believer. Don't make small, tiny, incremental changes. When I was on Fox Business with Kennedy a couple months ago, she said, why not just move to a low-tax state? And I said, what is a couple extra bucks going to mean when you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies? Go where you're treated best does not mean go where you're treated a little bit better. In fact, I bet a lot of people would feel more at home in San Juan than Charleston, West Virginia. I bet a lot more people would feel at home in London or in Dublin or in Malta, living as a non-dom, living on a coast or living in a big city, lowering their tax bill there than they would in Charleston, West Virginia, or even Nashville, Tennessee. Go where you're treated best. Don't look for how you can save 4 or 5%. Look how you can save 45%. For me, that's why zero income tax states don't make sense. It's why West Virginia's proposal, while interesting, is not one that I would be pursuing because I would be looking at all of my options out of competitive governments. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.